Okay, right, we start from scratch. Okay, so welcome everybody. I'm Yvonne Simpson, and I am the lead for the knowledge exchange through the Sisters Online. And today we'll be helped by Kim Hainsworth, our president. So together we are running this webinar, and we are very delighted to have the Federation President Anthea Penny with us to share her views and her hopes and her aspirations, and us to get to know her a little bit. So if we move on now, I'll stop sharing and...
There you are.
There I am. Okay, so can I just check that I can't see me, so I will...
We can see you. I can see you. That's the most important thing.
I don't know about that so much. Okay, so I'll still try and get out of it, okay?
As soon as Anthea talks, you disappear, Yvonne, so all good.
Okay. So you can't see. What can you see now?
Well, I can because you're talking. Let Anthea talk.
Okay.
Well, would you like me to introduce myself now and say thank you very much indeed for inviting me this afternoon to speak. I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm interested in the discussion we're going to have. Hopefully, as I can inform you as to what I think and where we might be going and what the issues are. So,
wonderful.
Yvonne, yep. I'll leave it up to you.
No, I will lead. We want to hear from you. I'll just be the guide, as it were. So thank you, and thank you for taking time out of it. I know what's a very busy schedule for doing this.
Thank you.
So if we jump right in, so if you could give us a wee bit about your background and what inspired you to join Soroptimist International, and what path led you to being in the position that you are currently in, one of many positions that you are currently in.
Thank you very much. Well, I was living up in Auckland, and I had my own company as a management consultant in the health sector. And because I was travelling and working internationally, we moved back down to my hometown, which was Rangiora. And I was very busy and it was all very nice, but I didn't know any women. I was new to the district, and I thought, I wonder if there's a service club here. And I had belonged to Zonta previously, so I didn't know where to look. So I went to Citizens Advice. Where do you go? Citizens Advice. And asked them, was there a Zonta club here? And they said, no, but there is a Soroptimist club. And I said, Soroptimist? What's that? And they said, oh, it's a service club and they hold meetings monthly. Here's the details to get in touch with them. So I did. And I went to a meeting and I was so impressed, not only with what they were doing and achieving, but the welcome that I got was absolutely stunning. For someone who knew nobody, I really felt included. And so that's how I became to be a Soroptimist, having never heard about it before. But I also wanted to do two things, and that was to meet new people and also to give back to my community. And it was something that I had done previously. So I settled in and became a Soroptimist. And then later on, and I cannot remember exactly when, Yvonne, but I was down in a conference in Dunedin, and Yvonne stood up and she said, I'm looking for somebody who is able to run a leadership program. I think that's how it went. And of course, that's what I was doing internationally. So I said, I could perhaps help you. And so we got together and ran a couple of leadership programs nationally. And I started to become, if you like, aware of the greater area of Soroptimism. And soon after that, I was asked by Malaysia if I would actually become a director. I don't think it was Malaysia, actually. I think it was someone in New Zealand suggested I should become a director, which I did. And then it became, for President-elect, Malaysia asked me if I would stand. I think they'd asked a number of people before, I suspect I got this job because nobody else wanted it. But nevertheless, here I am, and I'm busy, but I'm really looking forward to it. And I think what's inspired me the most, to be quite honest, is other Soroptimists. Just the sheer fellowship of it and the friendship and the good things that we can do in our community, and we do. Yeah.
So just have you got any of those highlights of what you do? You're involved with the Thriving Futures. You mentioned it in passing there, but I think that's worthy of exploring a bit more.
Well, it was about looking at the fact that our numbers were going down and developing a program that would work with regions and clubs within regions to actually help them identify who were their potential members and what were the strategies that they need to take on board and plan and run in their clubs to increase the membership. So I think we started with Malaysia, being in Malaysia for Asia, and then we've done Western Australia and Victoria and New Zealand. And then I was asked by the European Federation if I would go to Prague and run 2 sessions of it past the European clubs and regions. And they call them unions, I think. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's an important part of your journey because you've done the work on the ground as well. It's important. Okay, so what about you? What's the single top priority do you think is for your term?
It has to be.
Why is it urgent?
Yes, it has to be membership. Membership is the most urgent. We are now below our 2,000 members that we were inducted with initially as a federation. I think we're down to about 1,780. There was a rise when we did the member-to-member campaign initially, but always there's this loss of members lately when we come to the annual fees, etc. I don't think we really understand why. Part of it's because we've got an ageing membership in Australia and New Zealand. That's not so in Asia. But that is a real issue, and it's a real issue internationally, in that we internationally at Soroptimist International, we're starting to talk about what is a federation in good standing. And good standing actually can mean the number of members that you've got, and are you financially viable? It's along with other things as well that can be measured, but that is now coming into play. And you've got America, for instance, saying, well, actually, we don't want one federation, one vote. We want representation on the amount of money and fees that we pay into Soroptimist International. Now, that's a problem. And we need to make sure, if we want a future together, that we actually increase our membership.
Okay. So you've got some measurable goals that are specific, outcomes that you will aim for by the end of this biennium?
Well, to increase our membership to over 2,000, that's got to be one of my goals. Yeah. I want to increase our financial viability as well, where we do have some consolidated funds, but we are at times going into deficit in our annual budget. So it's getting more members, of course. We increase the number of fees, which we increase our income. But we also want to look at fundraising and going for grants and going for sponsorship and so forth. The issue has been that we're not terribly visible. It was like me coming into it in North Canterbury and saying, Soroptimist, who? So we really need to raise our visibility. And I think the other thing that would help do that is our campaign right across the Federation, where we all join in and focus on women's health. We can talk about that publicly. We can say, this is what this organisation does. This is what it actually stands for. So though I also want to open up communication and increase the use of messaging platforms and look at how communication flows through our organisation. I mean, it's all very well Australia and New Zealand liking emails, but if Fiji, for instance, uses the Viber platform only, how are we getting our messages through? The same with Asia using WhatsApp. We need to look at the future and how that communication is going to flow through. And what is it that clubs want? What do you want to hear about? We need to understand that and to look at it. So I also want to increase members' access to training, and currently we've started a leadership program which Fiji is currently undergoing, and we will be looking at more opportunities of that leadership program online in the near future. I want to ensure also that we have a strategic plan, that we actually do chart the way forward and we have a planned approach to achieving that. I've talked about the campaign, but I also want to say that I think the work that we've done in the past and programs and so forth and we're doing now is absolutely sterling. So I want to make sure that the programs, the projects that we undertake and are accountable for, that we really measure that and can show the impact, and that we actually talk about that in the wider community. I think that's enough on that. Thank you.
Okay, so you've got some very specific goals for the health and well-being of the current and future federation. Thank you for sharing those. Now, you mentioned the top priority was membership, growth and diversity. So how will you recruit and retain members from such diverse countries and age groups as we've got or could have?
I don't think it's a question of how I will do it. I think it's a question of how the clubs will do it.
Yeah.
And traditionally, we've focused on bringing a friend. And, I think that's probably how, but I think we've got to be a bit more savvy than that. We know, and we've heard from the younger members on their panel, they are very interested in the real issues that women face. They want to do something about it, but they haven't got the time. They have a different perspective of how they do things. So that, if you like, their work or family time is taken up. They're time poor. So how best can we scope our new clubs, etc., and the work to actually incorporate them? I mean, we're still hearing, and I want to hear more from the younger members as to how that should actually happen. But it's really important, if we want an intergenerational membership, that we look and adapt to the new ways of working.
True. So you're combining them together to make it stronger.
Definitely.
Yeah. So what about what practical supports and, so for example, training and funding, and will the Federation be able to provide to strengthen clubs?
I think, well, obviously we've got the leadership program. Okay. And we should, there's been recent webinars on training for position holders. Okay. I think we need to provide more training, but we need to know from clubs what they want to be trained in, or what webinars or chats that they want to have. We also need to train on the program database if people don't understand how to complete that. It's really important that we collect this data. It's important because we can show the impact that we really have with our projects and our programs. And it's really, I suppose, the ability also, both at the, if you like, the federation level and at the club level, helping them to get funding from local communities, helping us to get fund from sponsors and getting grants. That's important. So it's also about what tools and resources do clubs want to move forward. What do they need? Yeah.
So you've mentioned a couple of times what the clubs want. So how will they tell you? Can people here write in the chat and we can pass it on to you? Is there another way that they can share those ideas with you?
I think they should write to us, tell us, email us.
Yep.
I want to be swamped with emails, thank you.
Okay.
I need to know, we need to know and understand, otherwise it's a one-way street, and it shouldn't be like that.
Okay, so you want to hear the voice of the club.
Yes,
so that's
absolutely.
The invitation is there, ladies. So what about advocacy? Have you got advocacy priorities that the Federation will emphasise, and how can clubs contribute to this?
Well, the first thing is through there's a project which is Brilliant Futures. I mean, that's a project that they can apply for money for. I think it's an excellent project, an excellent basis for improving the economic situation of women through education. I applaud it. So that's an ongoing project. They also be involved in the improving health and wellness in the campaign. But they can also, I think, clubs can also identify what are the needs in their community and how do they actually, what can they then provide in terms of activities or projects that will actually meet the need or help women and girls to live a better life.
Okay, so these are the things that clubs can do in partnerships and funding.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I wasn't quite clear in my question. So the question was around advocacy focus. So
advocacy itself is, I mean, we have our 8 objectives in our constitution, and the Soroptimist International has its 5 pillars that should be focused on: your health, education, welfare, etc., climate. But really, it's up to also to clubs to identify the needs themselves within their own community. And advocate for that, but on a wider scale, I think the program team and SI are looking at various issues. One of them is gender medicine. That's looking at the effect of medicine on women and whether it's supplied fairly between men and women. Yeah.
That was an interesting thing. Last night was the AGM for Soroptimist International and the launch of that awareness campaign that's going to go there. You mentioned Brilliant Futures, and somebody's asked about that. That was a fund that's within the Federation. Is it being reviewed? Is it available? It's
available. It's coming up for another round. I think they're calling for another round. It has money in it, and it is ongoing. Okay. I think it was started by Christine Johnson, and it's an excellent project.
Okay, so that's a Federation fund that clubs can apply to.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And there's
and
a
of
link
course,
in
we'd
the
like
chat.
to get more grants to actually have more money in the pot for more projects. That will be the aim as well.
And Kim's given a link in the chat for those who want to pursue that a little bit more. What about the Legacy Fund? Is that we were talking about funding and things? What's that?
That's just been developed, and we are developing a legacy fund where members can actually leave a legacy to Soroptimist International Southeast Asia Pacific. One of our directors has done a lot of work on that, and that's the Chair of Governance, Deborah Wood. So it's now out there, and hopefully the information is getting to the clubs. If not, let us know.
I think it's another way of adding finances to the coffers to keep the machinery going. Yeah.
Yes, and it is.
Okay, so has the last round earlier in the year been announced? I don't know. This is about the Brilliant Futures. There's another round coming up now, isn't there?
Yes, there is. Yes.
So there's a question here about the last round earlier in the year. Has it been announced? No,
I don't know that it's about to be announced, I think.
Okay, right, thank you. Okay, so one of the other topics that you touched on was communication and digital. How will you improve communication and capacities of clubs so they can share best practice and stay connected?
Well, we're actually looking at this now, and I can't give you any concrete decisions, but we're certainly looking at not the Facebook we use. We're looking at the e-span and bulletin. Is that fit for purpose, or do we need to look at something else? We're looking at email versus the messaging platforms, and I suppose basically what we're trying to see is what is the flow of communication, and how do we need to change or do anything different?
Right. Okay.
It's work in progress, and I really can't nail that one specifically at the moment. We really need to do some work on it.
You did mention once in the conversation to me once that the different countries have different platforms they prefer to use.
Yes,
so
they
you've
do.
got that diversity in there as well.
That has been surveyed at the moment, and the results will be available soon, so that we'll know exactly what the situation is.
Okay. So what about crisis response? I mean, it's a world where things are happening out there with resilience, and how will the Federation support clubs and communities through emergencies? Because we are in an area that's busy with earthquakes and tsunamis and other such disasters, aren't we?
We certainly are. And I mean, we do have a disaster fund, and we have sent recently to Myanmar the money for medical supplies, etc. So we raise money, but I think we can't be there in person, but we can support them as well, emotionally, with advocacy, etc., etc. But mainly it's helping them to rebuild, or giving them money for supplies, health supplies, food, water, that sort of thing.
There have also been some projects that have been run that very, the one in Indonesia, for example, Lamray Village, rebuilt by a very small club. So projects that way can also be part of that scheme. Okay, so well done. So legacy and succession, how will you develop emerging leaders and ensure the continuity after your term?
Well, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for women who'd mentored me along the way, both in my career and currently. And I think mentoring is a very important part of developing our leaders. Also, supplying training. Well, we now are moving into leadership program training. And we've also, of course, looked at the roles, president, secretary, and done some work on that in terms of webinars and panels and so forth. That's all very well, but it's about the fact that at every club and at every level, it's having identified mentors. Maybe we need to do a training program on mentoring. I don't know. But I do know that mentoring is very effective, and it helps women who have the skills and the experience, but just need a bit of a push to actually step up and take on roles. And that's what we need. We need people to step up and take roles, both now and in the future.
But I think we need to future-proof our organisation for sure.
Totally.
The need is there, isn't it?
Well, you know, as I said at the opening, in terms of membership and so forth, we need younger women to take up that leadership role for the future. And we need to keep adapting our organisation. We can't just be doing the same thing in the same way forever, because the world around us moves on.
Yeah, I think I agree. I absolutely agree. And I had an instance really recently where I learnt that I was a generation older than the person who I was dealing with before. And it's being open to that, isn't it? That both sides need to, yeah. Okay, so there were a few questions that were sent in. For example, there's one about the chat line, whether you'd heard of the chat line, and if you think it's got potential for enhancing international friendships, because you mentioned friendship was one of the things that motivated you to join at the beginning.
Yes, I've only just heard about Chatline. I didn't know about it. I've also heard recently about Open Hearts, Open Homes. And that's another if you like, program that is run from Europe, the European Federation. I think you're down on it if I looked at it.
Yes.
It's where Soroptimists around the world are prepared to host other Soroptimists or to help them if they visit their country or whatever. And at the moment, we're trying to get hold of a dialogue with the woman that runs it to actually include and update our own federation. So Chatline it's a very good idea. I mean, there's nothing like hearing how your counterpart's doing over in Europe or in America or anywhere. It's a really, worthwhile initiative. So as far as I don't know an awful lot about it, but I certainly support it.
There are members on this call who are members of the chat line, and they would vouch for that as well. Across borders, absolutely across borders. I've got a question from Mongolia, from Ulaanbaatar. What should we focus on, and what actions should we take to improve our club's activities and increase member engagement and participation?
Well, I think you need to ensure that you have a planned approach to recruitment. I do. Who are the potential members that you want to include in your club? How are you going to market yourselves and the club in order to engage with them? And think about the fact that if what age group are you after? How will you do that, given that younger members are very keen to do the action, but they just haven't got the time. And they're quite passionate about the issues. It's encouraging. So you also need to make sure, I think, that the meetings that they're coming to are interesting and well run. And there's quality time spent together. I mean, if it's not, then people might arrive with curiosity, but never come back after the first meeting. And then there's time spent on the sheer fellowship. And the fellowship, I think, arises around not only friendship, but actually being involved in projects, working together, having some fun, being productive, and finally, at the end of it, seeing the results and getting the feedback. And funnily enough, I think that being seen to be happening out in the community is one of the key things that draws members in, and they say, oh, I want to be part of that. That attracts me. So it's also having some interesting understanding the needs of your community and being able to meet those needs through projects or programs. To me, that is the process of a healthy club. Thank you.
One of the things that I've been involved with, and if I could make a little plug here, is that we had a clinic for canine medical detection. I spoke to that to people before, and we had 44 women from our community sign up and give urine samples for the research to develop the dog detection program. And it's probably been the most exciting thing that we've done, because women in our community have responded with, I want to be part of that. And all of a sudden we're seen to be relevant, and seem to be topical, seem to be, and it was just the energy that came with it. Raylene, who's the co-convener, was stopped down the street and said, that dog thing, I want to be part of it. I had a lady come to my door, knock on my door saying, I don't know how to sign up, I want to sign up. Now, that kind of energy from doing something practical on the ground is exciting. Yeah, as you say, it energizes. I've just had a good comment. Yeah.
Yes, is there a comment?
Yeah, there's a comment about a recent conversation with a young member. She has loads of friends and colleagues who would work on something specific for a certain time.
Exactly.
They want to help. They want to help, yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, for instance, getting out and doing something for October was for my club. I think we had 17 Soroptimists do 17 different activities in their homes, like morning tea, lunch, or cocktails or whatever. We all dressed up in our fabulous frocks. And the new members we got out of that was incredible. So we have gone from 38 to 50 membership in that using those processes. And it's amazing. So, yeah, we're amazed. Anyway, enough of that.
And no, I think that's a very important point, is that it attracts them. The next point is, of course, that you mentioned, is across the doors to keep them in there with inclusion and appropriate friendship. Yeah, okay.
That is.
There's another comment here from Suzanne. Relying on friendship chairs is at Western Canada region or coordinators get in touch with Soroptimists when they travel. Now, Darlene, who's on here, is a genius at connecting people who travel. So I think there is that connection, that global connection in friendship as well, because you mentioned open heart, open door as one vehicle. Yeah, so encourage it. Okay, so now, so what advice do you have for members who hesitate to take up positions at all levels? What do you say to them?
I say to them, do it. We need you. If you feel you might, like we all do, it's natural to feel, oh, I can't do this. It's a bit hard for me. This is another step up. But you will be surprised the support you'll get, I hope. And also the actual doing of it is so interesting. There are so many interesting women and the projects and whatever. It really is an opportunity. So don't see it as, oh, no, I can't. See it as an opportunity to grow.
That leads in quite nicely now, because somebody asked about your logo, which is behind me somewhere. I'm not quite sure which way to look. You've got your logo there about empowering futures. Could you explain the rationale behind that?
We need to empower our future, because we need to empower it not only from our own membership point of view. If we haven't got members, we are going to die. There's no doubt about that. But we also need to keep empowering the women and girls that we do these projects and programs with, because I think the impact we have is very worthwhile. So what you'll see on the blue is us, the Soroptimist International. And what you see on the green is the women and girls that we help. And you will see an encompassing arrow that if you like, is us encompassing them and helping them towards a better future. Thank you.
Let's go for green. Yeah. Okay, so somebody's asked, is there symbolism in the headspace?
The symbolism is in the girl and the arrow around it. That is the symbolism of empowering. An arrow around that empowers the woman upwards towards meeting Soroptimists, if you like, project goals. Can't hear you.
The blue is not quite the purple, but green, purple, and white are suffrage colours as well. So we've got gender equality there and there as well, Anthea, aren't we? And one of the issues that has been is that we've got so many women, so many different cultures and ethnicities and diversity. So she did have to be encompassing of all of that. So
absolutely,
green does that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So two things, somebody said, two things to get to know some like wine. Oh, this is what inspired you to become a Soroptimist. Just in a summary.
Friendship.
Yeah. And giving back. Yeah, you mentioned it, sorry. I'm doubling up here. My notes got a bit. Okay, so some quick questions for you. One word that captures your presidency.
Change.
You want to bring in change, okay. And one program you'll expand immediately, and details about that.
Health campaign. It has to be two on that one.
Can you give us some more details of what you'd like to see happen there?
I'd definitely like to see each club focus, each region in Australia or each country focus on an overall health issue and provide a program or project or campaign or whatever to actually make a difference.
And the biggest challenge you expect to face, one way you'll address it.
Sorry? The biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge you expect to face, and one way of addressing it.
I don't feel as though there's any challenges. There probably is, but I'm sorry. Probably myself. I don't know. But I basically don't feel. I'm hopeful that everyone will see the points and that will be okay. They will follow along and help me. We need help to do this.
What is that team thing that you were saying before, isn't it? That and that's one thing that does happen. Yeah.
Yeah, it's teamwork.
Okay. So somebody's asked, where can we find out information on the connection channels such as Chatline, Open Homes, Open Heart, Open Door, and Friendship Chairs? This is the first time she's heard of it, and can the links be sent out to members as a future article in the eSpan or bulletin?
Definitely. And once we get in touch with Open Heart, Open Home, I will definitely send that out. As for Chatline, I think, Kim, have you got Chatline sorted? I haven't got that.
I did put a link. I did put a link that just explains about Chatline. We'll put some details because it's basically you just need to get on the email group. So we'll put some details in the one of the bulletins about how you click on to the email and get yourself on that group.
And they would be welcoming. There's somebody, okay, the connections already there in the chat line, so well done.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Yeah, Kate Moore started it many, many years ago, in the days, like 30 years ago, I think, and now Jenny Walker from the UK is assisting her and bringing in big group chats to cater for different... to cater for different time zones, and that's what we've got here. Is one of those challenges is that there's a 5-hour time zone that we are dealing with, and also the chat is the Open Heart, Open Door connection as well. Okay, so these things are happening. So, are there any other questions? If people could put them in the chat before we wrap up.
Can I just say one thing? So with the chat line, and Yvonne, I think you've turned your camera off, your video.
Yes.
So
yeah.
For the chat line, so if you just, the details are there, Kate at kate-george.co.uk. You just email her and you tell her which club you're from and what name and your federation. And then you'll be part of a chat line group. And we also do some things on WhatsApp as part of that group as well.
The other thing is that, Anthea, I'm assuming that you'll be at the International Convention next year.
Definitely, yes.
and that the chat line group normally gets together in person there. So they have these connections over time during email, and then they get together at conventions. So that's a great way to actually meet people in person, and I've done that, and that's been wonderful. So can you do some encouraging noises? I see that last night the registrations are open soon. And you also at the Kota Kinabalu conference. So what about those sorts of places to gather?
Okay, so I've seen the venue for in Prague for the conference, and I have to say it's amazing. It's as always in these older cities. It's beautiful Art Deco environment. I think the program will be a particularly exciting one. But for our federation, we are able to have a workshop, and we are able also to advertise by TV as a rolling, if you like, program of our projects, etc., that we've completed and what our advocacy is involved in. So for the first time, I think, or I don't know, it might have happened before, but the 5 federations are being involved quite heavily in the program work.
So it's a time to come together.
Definitely.
It's a time to come together in friendship and learning.
Yes.
And yeah.
Prague is a beautiful city, and to come together in such surroundings, I think, will be superb.
Right. Okay. So I'm just reading some of the questions. There's a question here. Somebody said, "Is that you in the black hat and coat walking across the square at the beginning of the Prague video?" Very glamorous, Anthea. So it must have been you.
Thank you.
Okay, somebody said, the more of these I attend, the more connected I feel. It's so lovely to get to know the people behind the names. These chats could well be expanded. So there you are, mate. So in that case, I think that we could invite you back maybe in a year and give us an update and give us a last prod along for that.
I think in 3 months or 4 months' time, there could be some more announcements. And I think announcements this way is another way of spreading the word. And I'd be more than open to doing that.
Yeah, okay. Well,
yeah. I've just got a couple of questions or a couple of comments, Yvonne, from earlier on. Philippa in Adelaide, just reiterating, Anthea, she likes the idea of the mentoring training that you spoke about.
I'm pleased.
Christine asked about LinkedIn promotion. Are we doing much of that in terms of attracting, I suppose, that younger working cohort?
We are. We're just getting into that. Yes.
Lovely. Now, this is an interesting one. Rhonda Kerr just asked a question, and I'll make it as a comment, I suppose, because I'm not sure you can answer. Just wondering why Philippines isn't part of Southeast Asia Pacific Federation.
Quite simple. After the Second World War, America was in the Philippines, Japan, and they actually, that's when they got into Soroptimism. We missed out. And it'd be lovely if Philippines came to us, but we can't poach.
Okay.
Yeah.
No. There is a lot of history in the structure of the organisation, and our federation used to belong to Great Britain and Ireland until the 70s, and then because of distance, etc., became our own entity. So it's an evolving thing as well. You know, there's connections through historical means as well as geographical that add to the complexity of it. Yeah. Okay, so somebody's mentioned we need to add a discussion on grants and funding to help both clubs, regions, and federations, please. Okay, so maybe
don't disagree. We've got a fundraising committee being established and about to get into action.
Okay. Oh, thanks, Lee. In 1978, we became a federation.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, okay. Look, thank you, Anthea. I think that you've given them some thought and us some thought as well. And we, one thing that we can take away, the last thing that we can take away that we can be challenged to do to support you in your journey. Not you, our journey.
Our journey, I think.
Our journey.
Well, first of all, just remember, we all can work together to increase our membership. and to secure our future.
Yeah.
But and most importantly, the fellowship is everything. The projects we do are so worthwhile, and our future, if we can just keep our membership up, I think would be secured. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Now, before we shut down, we'll. So Kim, if you could turn off the recording, we'll put the poll up and have a last bit